It's 1 month to the day since 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers from Hendersonville in Tennessee went missing. 30 whole days. We've got a family at war. We've got searchers jibing at YouTubers. We've got Nancy Grace. And we've got the news daddy himself, Brian Entin. We've got a lot to talk about, so let's go. Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Tuesday morning, the 26th of March, and it was the 26th of February when Katie Proudfoot, Sebastian Rogers' mother, around 6 a.m, went into his room to get him up for school. It was a Monday. He wasn't there. She went into the kitchen to see if he was up early getting his breakfast. No, he wasn't. She had a look round the house, couldn't find him, rang her husband, Sebastian's stepdad, Chris, and had a drive around the neighbourhood apparently, and he was nowhere to be seen. He was just gone. They called and texted Sebastian's bio-dad, Seth, who lives about an hour away in Clarksville. He was on shift at the Davidson County Jail. At about 7:20, he got off shift, went back to his car, and there was the news. Ever since then, Seth has been relentless searching for his son. He's done a number of interviews both with the news and with YouTubers, as have Chris and Katie. Seth went on the Nancy Grace show last week, and last night it was Katie and Chris's turn to go on Nancy Grace. It was interesting. We heard a few details that we hadn't heard before. We heard a developing story. Sebastian went to bed about 9 p.m. on the Sunday night, the 25th. That's remained constant. At some point during one of her interviews, Katie added in an additional detail that about 10ish she heard noises from Sebastian's room, and she told him to be quiet, go to bed. It was time for bed. Now, in the Nancy Grace show, she said that she heard a thud, and she called to Sebastian as to whether he'd fallen out of bed, and he said no, he hadn't. So what was that thud? I don't know. Maybe he was getting ready to run away. It's still on the cards for me, even though Seth says it doesn't make a lot of sense that he would do that. And he said this consistently all along. And here's what he said to News Daddy Brian Entin from News Nation.
It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. His shoes are still by the front door. His switch was there. His phone was in the kitchen. It just didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I still can't figure it out. I've been looking everywhere.
Doesn't make a lot of sense, he said. Wouldn't go without his shoes.
Would he ever leave barefoot? I know that's something that's perplexed some people, and even people who have children on the autism spectrum have been perplexed by that. Does that make any sense?
It doesn't. It does not make any sense. If he knew he was going to go out walking or anywhere in the yard or whatnot, he would put on socks and shoes. He had a horrible experience as a child with fire ants. He learned.
Katie also said that he wouldn't go without his shoes. But then she amended that and said, well, he would go out quite regularly in just socks, and then she'd have to tell him to put shoes on. So was he going in a rush? Was he upset? Did he hear Chris and Katie on the phone talking about his behaviour and he'd had enough? Seth rightly said in the News Nation interview that he's heard them talk about horrendous things. We've heard Chris saying that he whacked Sebastian with a belt just the once for lying. A CPS worker who calls Sebastian a liar for telling a teacher that he was being hit. I don't know, I can't see that personally myself, that a CPS worker would call a kid a liar for speaking up. But having said that, the CPS ain't always great, are they? They're not in my country, and they probably aren't there either. Anyway, I digress. So we have heard some things from Chris Proudfoot that are concerning, and as Sebastian has autism, maybe he doesn't understand the things that Chris is trying to quote-unquote teach him with corporal punishment. Whacking a kid with a belt, whacking a kid at all, actually, isn't a great way to teach a child to behave. But with autism, you've got an additional stressor there. The child is not thinking like Chris Proudfoot might think. He might not understand, however intelligent he is, he might not have the emotional intelligence to understand what Chris is trying to do. It just seems cruel to me. But it doesn't mean to say that he did anything to Sebastian, or that Katie did anything to Sebastian. Sebastian was due to go and live with Seth in the summer once school was out. He was seeing out the school year in Hendersonville, and then he was going to Clarksville to live with his dad. I think he had a little bit more freedom as his dad's. His dad would let him play video games. His dad would let him go on YouTube and watch Minecraft videos, whereas in Hendersonville everything was completely locked down for him. And he's 15, growing up. Maybe he has been in touch with people somehow. He's been able to bypass the parental controls, and he's met someone online. And he's gone out in a rush. They've said, come out now, Sebastian. Come out right now, I'm waiting outside. And the person that he was waiting for wasn't a friend at all. That's my number one theory. It's been my number one theory since the beginning. It's still my number one theory, because little else makes sense. That he's run away because he doesn't like what's going on at home. He knows he's in trouble. He's been speaking to a friend. That friend wasn't a friend at all, and something horrible has befallen him. Until a better theory comes along that I can formulate, then that makes the most sense to me. Anyhow, the Nancy Grace interview gave us a few other interesting things that we didn't know. We didn't know that Chris Proudfoot hadn't taken a polygraph. Katie has, and she passed hers. Questions like, did you hurt Sebastian? Did you hurt anyone? Those kind of things. Just usual questions that you would ask a parent of a missing child. Chris Proudfoot says that he didn't need one. He would take one. Nancy Grace said, if I set one up for you, will you take it? And he was like, yeah, name the place. And maybe the cops did say that to him because he wasn't there. He was in Memphis. It's where Katie and Chris are right now. They've gone back to the RV park where Chris lives when he's working. They ran away because of the YouTubers. So if Sebastian comes home, well, hopefully he's remembered the code for the door, because he won't be able to get in otherwise. But like they said, they can go and look for Sebastian anywhere. You know, the most likely place he's going to be is 3.5 hours away in Memphis, isn't it? Okay, all right.
Have you talked to Sebastian's mom, stepdad? You mentioned you had that conversation when they said, you know, he's gone missing, but have they been able to give any more information?
I haven't spoken to them for at least 2 weeks. They're not talking to me.
There are reports that they have packed up an RV and left the house that Sebastian disappeared from. Any idea why they would do that?
I have no idea. I have no information. They weren't talking to me, so I was out here trying to find my son.
Do you feel that they were taking good care of him?
I've got information from podcasts that they were showing that horrified me.
What do you mean? I mean, were they on podcasts or? I'm sorry, I know this is upsetting, but I just want to understand.
They were going on podcasts, and it was like, it's supposed to be about Sebastian. They wanted to talk about themselves. I don't get that. We need to get Sebastian's face out to everybody. Have them looking for Sebastian. This isn't about me. It's not about his mom. It's not about his stepdad. This is about Sebastian. He needs to be found.
As Seth said, and he's absolutely right, that this is about Sebastian, not about warring families, even though they are warring. Seth has said that they haven't spoken to him for 2 weeks. He's got no idea what they're doing search-wise. He only knows what he's doing. Like one long day, he told one news interviewer.
To me, it's just one big day, and it hasn't ended. And it's not going to end until I have my son back.
After law enforcement scaled back its search, the United Cajun Navy, the same group that searched for missing Mizzou student Riley Strain, is now helping with the search effort for the 15-year-old boy with autism, who authorities say wandered away from his Hendersonville home. There's been no trace of the boy ever since. I'm curious what you would say to investigators, to some people watching now, who would say that kids just don't vanish without a trace, implying that there must be some kind of foul play involved. What would you say to them?
Foul play is still negativity. He's out there. We just got to find him. Stop making excuses. You know, if there's foul play, we'll find out after we get a hold of him. We got to talk to him. He'll tell us what happened. We just got to find him first.
Seth's mother, Robin, is very hateful towards Chris. But we are hearing things about Seth as well. Like I said, warring families. If Sebastian does come home alive, then this is what he's going to walk into. So the family life, which was all hunky-dory, cookie-cutter, that Chris and Katie portrayed originally, just isn't the case at all. This is very much a dysfunctional family. But Seth is right. It's not about the warring family. It's about Sebastian and about the search. And it was Seth who called on the United Cajun Navy, who searched for Riley Strain, and those guys who went to Tennessee to help with Riley's search have stayed to help with Sebastian's search. But they have upset some people. They don't want YouTubers to be live streaming. Nancy said it the best.
It's one of the reasons we got called in. There was a lot of social media personalities reaching out to us, kind of complaining that they didn't feel like the police were doing enough. But really, it's just what Ms. Nancy said, is that they're not under obligation to give daily or every other day updates. They are doing an investigation. We have been in very close contact with TBI, and I can tell everybody with 100% certainty they are on top of it. They are not letting their foot off the gas at all on the search for Sebastian or trying to find out what happened to him. The YouTubers and TikTokers that do live stream probably do the most harm. We appreciate the attention that they bring to things, but when you do a live stream, you don't have any control over what gets seen by potentially the entire world. So we can't tell people what not to do. They have free speech. It's their own accounts they're using. Not helpful to do live streams during searches like that. If you want to do it, do a video that you could potentially edit later, so that we cut down on the amount of misinformation. That's why social media is not necessarily a house. We go in and do search and rescue. You have to trust the process like we do. We trust law enforcement is going to have this wrapped up probably very soon.
Brian, however, I want to make sure that you are not encouraging citizen sleuths to stop looking, because I've had many cases where we put out the warning and they actually spot a missing person. I mean, I only have to point to Gabby Petito, whose remains were found in dispersed camping way out west by a citizen who had heard about the case. So, sometimes their information is wrong, but there is no way in HELL that I would ask them to stop. And I know that's not where you're headed. Yeah.
No, we don't want them to stop. Matter of fact, it was two citizen sleuths that found Riley Strain's bank card up by the bank of the Cumberland River in Nashville. So, like I said, they do provide a service. My only suggestion was maybe not doing live stream, maybe just video, and then you can edit and post later. Just a suggestion.
Hey guys, I don't want to see anything edited. I want to see the whole thing. No edits, no airbrushing, the real deal. But that's just me.
I don't want things edited. I can understand it from a search point of view. However, if somebody does have Sebastian's body, once a place is thoroughly searched and cleared, if the perpetrator knows where it's been searched and cleared, then they're just going to go along and hide the body there. So there is that. The United Cajun Navy are appealing for volunteers. So this was from yesterday. The search for Sebastian continues. Just to be clear, we need volunteers. There is a method to the madness, and volunteers will help law enforcement find Sebastian. UCN has brought in search dogs since Saturday. To be clear, they are cadaver dogs. After 30 days, there is no way that you're going to get a live scent. These are cadaver dogs, and we will bring in more. Recently, online social media groups were walking around through areas with no set plan other than live streaming, searching with no set organised plan of action. Although beneficial, some of these searches were crossing onto federal restricted property and individuals' private property without permission, causing issues. but some county officials have raised concerns over the volunteer searches in regards to safety, resident complaints over trespassing, searches possibly compromising evidence that may surface, and maintaining the integrity of the case in regards to so much more being broadcast live on social media, i.e. questioning potential witnesses, finding impartial jury, etc. I always find the finding an impartial jury thing kind of weak. Not everybody follows crime cases. As a reminder to these people searching live, let's get together. Let's not live stream search efforts constantly. It's about finding Sebastian, not likes and shares. We are asking these groups to stand down 24 hours to allow us to get an organised grid plan of action and proper permissions to search, including coordinating with federal government to search federal properties. We are also asking anyone who has previously searched for Sebastian to send United Cajun Navy a message with results and/or advice and concerns. United Cajun Navy asks that anyone who was involved or wants to be involved in the search for Sebastian to send us a message, and let's organise and bring Sebastian home to his family. Some of the search areas on federal property is in an area that was heavily destroyed from recent tornadoes and wind damage. These areas need to be thoroughly combed in an organised manner with proper permissions, leaving no stone unturned. We need the social media world to do their thing and help us organise volunteers to come help. Give us 24 hours. A small group of search dogs will narrow down today an area in question from Saturday. We want y'all back, but for now, let's regroup, get organised, share resources and bring Sebastian home to his family. This search will not be easy, but it will be successful in the end. Trust the process. Trust the dang process. Now, let's go bring Sebastian home. Go to unitedcajunnavy.org to sign up to volunteer. Please keep comments positive, not bashing law enforcement or others. This is about finding Sebastian. It is, absolutely. Now, something that was said on Nancy Grace, it's interesting because it kind of seems contradicting to this. A small group of search dogs will narrow down today an area in question from Saturday. So that's the place that JLR filmed where the Belgian Malinois cadaver dog led down, which is an alert. On Nancy Grace, they said that that wasn't a false positive. That dog did find the scent of human decomposition, but it was because a homeless person had died there. There was a homeless camp there. They've probably moved on since the tornadoes, but someone died there.
Yeah, to Brian Trasher, VP of Cajun Navy, let's clear it up. Isn't it true? This is on federal property that had been closed off. It was a hurricane site earlier. It was also, yes, thank you. And it was also near railroad tracks, and some homeless people had been living there, and apparently one of them had died, and we believe that is what the dogs were hitting on. Is that correct?
Yeah, all the above is correct, and we did not gain access to the property. It had already been open when we got there. I'm not sure how entry was gained, but yeah, everything above it that you just said was correct.
So I don't know how they know that. I don't know how Nancy Grace found that out. I don't know whether law enforcement told them that, but the guy from the United Cajun Navy said, yep, that's correct. So I don't know what Katie and Chris are thinking. Lord only knows, but the lights are going to be of interest. The lights on the garage that Katie forgot were on, but were on, because Chris said. You think about those lights from that garage. Anyway, but Seth's right. Time to bring Sebastian home. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.